And it's okay. Hi, everyone, and I hope you're going to enjoy today's session. So we're going to be focusing on one of my favorite animals, the wild African dog. And we're going to sort of go back to basics working with graphite pencils, but we're going to do something very different with the graphite pencils. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change my camera, and I'm going to go to my slideshow. And let me just get myself organized a little bit. Okay, now I can see my slideshow. I couldn't see it. So yeah. So basically, this is what we are going to do. We're going to tape pencils together, and we're going to start with them taped together, and then we're going to work with pencils separated. So if you can get yourself a range of pencils out, and two that you can tape together. So we're probably going to start with an HB and a B and tape those together. And then we'll move on to a bigger range of graphite pencils, probably the 4Bs, the 6Bs, the 8Bs, whatever graphite pencils you have. So the African wild dog, many people think that it's a form of hyena, but it isn't. It's sort of a relation to the wolf. And it's a very popular subject matter for artists in South Africa. And you can actually see because it has such beautiful markings on its body. And I've actually been commissioned to do quite a few, well, I suppose I can't call them portraits, but paintings of these dogs. Some corporates have asked me to do paintings for their offices, and I've just loved actually painting these dogs. And when you investigate them, they're actually lovely animals. They're very sociable. They look after their young very carefully and their old. If you have a look at their ears, the ears are very distinctive because that's actually what makes them typical to our country. Is most dogs have these like sort of sharp triangular ears, and these ones have these round, like sort of, they almost look like what is it, like satellite dishes, and this is what gives them their incredible hearing. So these dogs have amazing hearing. They are unfortunately endangered, and I think in one particular year they went down to only about 2,000 dogs in our whole country. So there has been a lot of people who have tried to encourage their breeding and encourage their conservation. And I think if you do the research, they're probably still on the endangered list at present. They're not very popular with our farmers because our farmers see them almost as vermin, and they do obviously attack the livestock. Yeah, it is just a sad story for such a beautiful animal. And if you have a look at these images, they really, really are beautiful animals, and they're absolutely amazing to paint, like I said. They've got that lovely dog face and a quite beautiful face, and then in addition, those lovely big ears. And there's some more photographs of them. Yeah. And then this is where I'm going. So I tried this technique with my students, and they did these lovely expressive bird drawings. What I did is I put out a whole lot of still life objects, and the kids drew from the still life objects. So you can use this technique for anything, and it is actually going to loosen up. If you're a person who's used to drawing in a very tight way, you should actually find this fun because it's freeing, it's loose, it's expressive. And here's another two. So we've got, I think the student worked from one of those artist's hands, those ones that are all jointed and made out of wood. So that's the image on the left-hand side. And then on the right, this was a little like sort of boot ornament that the other student drew from. But this was, I think, a grade 10 class, and they did really, really well. I think the one on the left was from a mask, or it might have been a cast of someone's face, and then the other one was a frog ornament. Okay, so I'm going to get to my workspace here, And we're going to start with the dogs. I think if we can start with the last dog, because he's got quite a nice shape and he's very clear. This is a really nice, yeah, it's a nice silhouette to work from, and you can see the animal quite clearly. So I'm going to pick up my pencils. Okay, so I'm going to work with those. What you need to do is you need to actually put your pencils down so that the tips touch the page. And then while you're holding them down, you need to get your masking tape. So, or any tape, it could be sticky tape. So I'm holding it down and I'm just putting a little bit of masking tape around the pencils. And then if you want, you can put more at the top. For these ones, I've put two just so that they're a little bit stable, but it doesn't actually matter. That should actually hold. These are quite short pencils, so this will probably be fine. Okay, and I think just to start loosening up, what we can do, and it'll be quite nice to, and please work on scrap paper. Don't use your most expensive paper, or you can work. I mean, if you've got a sketchbook that you like working in and experimenting in, use that. But I'm working on cartridge. So this is actually just normal. It's almost like what can I say? Like photostat paper, but it's a thicker weight. Okay, so the pencils, when we start drawing, you use them upright, and then experiment putting them on their sides as well and moving it around. Okay, so you are going to try and use and shift those pencils around and just see what marks you can get out of them as you are drawing. Okay, so I'm going to move to another page and then we can start drawing that animal. And I think I'm going to shift to the bigger pencils. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making marks from the center of that animal. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to focus almost on the silhouette. I'm not trying to get too much detail. I'm just focusing on the shape of that head. I'm looking at the ears and trying to get the shape of the ears going. And then I'm working on that second ear. And you'll see that you can't really get that much detail with this technique. And it's quite nice because you're getting quite interesting marks. And remember, I said move those pencils, shift them. So obviously, if they're going on their side, I'm going to have much more delicate marks. If I'm going up, I'm going to get more scratchy. And almost imagine that you like knitting or moving your pencil around and creating the silhouette rather than drawing the outline. So the whole idea is to not focus on the outline, rather focus on the form of that animal. So now I'm moving down that leg, and he's got like these very, very skinny legs, and then he's got these like sort of little fat feet at the bottom. I'm going up again, and I'm moving down that other leg. That's the front leg, so it's going to go in front. Okay, there is a leg behind. You can sort of see it in white. I'll just indicate a line. And then I'm going to work on that other foreleg. And work that up a bit. Okay, and once you've got your silhouette established, that's when we can pick up our darker pencils. So I'm going to pick up probably a 4B or a 2B or a 3B, one of those. I'm just checking my pencils. Okay, I've just picked up an 8B, which is not good. It looks like all my pencils. I don't know what I've done with my lighter pencils. And my pencils all seem to be, okay, I found a 2B. Oh, excuse me. And so what you're going to do now is you're going to go in with your, okay, this one's quite light as well. you're slightly darker, so maybe I should be shifting to my 4Bs or 3Bs. Okay, I'm going to try a 4B, and you're going to work into your drawing, but almost try and keep the same. So now what I'm doing is I'm focusing on the features of this little dog, but I'm trying to keep the same character of these lines. So I started almost with like sort of quite a scribbly shape. So I'm working with like sort of little scribbles again. But at the same time, I'm looking at the details of this dog and trying to maintain the character of that mark. And it is difficult if you're not used to drawing in this way, but just relax into it and see it almost like a little meditation. And I'm sure I've told this story many times before. I had a student who she used to get quite stressed, and she started drawing in this like sort of scribbly technique. And as she drew in it, I would watch her get more and more relaxed, and it almost became her thing. She developed it, and in her final year, she did the most amazing work. But it was all with these little scribbles that she would almost like knit into her drawings. And she did these magnificent portraits, but all using this very loose, scribbly technique. Actually, it's quite interesting. I'm already feeling, just because I think I'm not used to this technique, a little bit of strain in my hand. So I'm just feeling a little bit of strain in my hand, but that's okay. I'm actually quite a lazy artist. I try and find techniques that can get quick effects from and cover areas very rapidly. I'm not that crazy about spending hours working on little sections. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm depositing a little bit more values, and I'm looking at the patches on this dog and almost trying to imitate those little patches. It is going to be easier when we focus on the head of the dog, because we'll be able to draw bigger. At the moment, it's a little bit more difficult because it is a small area that we're working in. Okay, so once you've put down another layer, what you can do is you can take erasers, and if you've overworked sections, you can go in and with your erasers, you can make some marks. I've got this wonderful electric eraser, and you'll see it does make quite dramatic marks, but any eraser will do. And then work into your drawing. I think this thing is maybe a little bit too dramatic. The mono eraser is also incredible. Can't actually see. I've got one, but you get erasers that have got got little points on them. And those, so if you've got one of those are absolutely incredible for working detail into drawings. Okay, but I'm just using this electric eraser. And they do come in different brands. This one's got a bit of, this is a Derwent one, but you'd get them in all different brands. And I think now they're relatively inexperienced. Sorry, wrong word. They are relatively inexpensive. So you can pick them up, and they definitely do a lot of the work for you. Okay, so I've worked some highlights in, and now I'm going to go in and work a little bit more detail with my soft pencils, sort of going in and working up that eye area. And just adding a little bit more value into this drawing. And just keep in mind, this is just a warm-up one. So we'll work just to get used to the technique, and then we'll work on a bigger drawing. Okay, I'm going to define these ears a little bit more because he's got these really wonderful ears that look like big satellite dishes. I've had a bit of a tickly chest and cough for the last few days, and I'm hoping it's nothing sinister. Some of our kids have been off school with a bit of COVID, and I just hope that they haven't passed something on. That would not be good, especially at this time of the year, because our school is moving towards exams, and I can't really afford to be off work. I am the only art teacher in the school, so everything basically, yeah, I have to keep the art department together. So, yeah, it would be tragic if I had to go off work at this stage. But anyway, so once you've worked it up, and now I'm going to show you the magic of the mineral terps or the petroleum jelly. So I'm going to put a little bit of mineral terps, and it can be anything. It can be mineral terps, or it can be artist terps, or distilled terps. It doesn't matter what brand it is or how expensive it is, but this is really inexpensive terps. And I'm just going to put a little drop because this stuff is quite toxic. And you'll see that once I start putting it on, it does darken and it spreads the graphite. So now you see if I pick up a pencil, and I've got quite a light hand, you can see how it almost like once there's a deposit down, it almost like grabs that that graphite. So when you work over it, it's the oiliness of the turpentine that's grabbing onto that graphite, and it's making my drawing that much more dramatic. And I'm sure you can, yes, you can see it on screen. So immediately in this area, you can see that I'm really not working very hard, and I'm getting these beautiful, rich black colors. I'll do the same with the petroleum jelly so that you can see. And what you can do is you can paint over the stuff that you've done, and then it gives you quite a matte surface. So it almost takes away the shininess of the graphite. The only drawback that you've got to remember is that once you put Vaseline or petroleum jelly down or the turpentine down, you then can't erase. Okay, so that is the drawback. So you need to know, okay, I love the drawing. It's fine. This is exactly where I'm going to put my very dark areas, and then you can work into it. Okay, the other thing is you've got to be very careful that the turpentine doesn't spread too much. So if I had to turn to the back of this little drawing, you'll probably find, yes, you can see it's leaking through. So it's better to be working on loose sheets of paper rather than in a book, because you'll end up, it might actually permanently affect the pages underneath. So it's just something to be aware of. It is a beautiful technique because it does create drama in your work. Let me do the little petroleum jelly so that you can see that it's doing the same thing. So I've got it here. So here is petroleum jelly. And you can actually just stick your brush straight into that. And I'm going to work over a section and paint it on. And then if I go with my and you can see the drama of that black that's going down. And like I said, I've got a relatively light hand when I draw, and I'm not having to press hard at all. And for me, that's a huge bonus. Yeah, I think when I press really hard, my hands take strain. So it's nice to be able to work quite lightly over that and get that drama. Okay, I'm just going to check the chat for to see if everyone's okay. Sharon, you fine? Okay, let me just see. Sorry, Sharon, I think I need to try and unmute you. Participants, okay. Sorry, Sharon, I'm not managing to unmute you. I think you might have to unmute yourself. But anyway, let's just carry on. Thumbs up if you're okay. You're fine so far. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Sharon. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just shift. I'm not going to complete this drawing because this was just a little warm-up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift to one of the other images and then work with something that's bigger. So let me just see which one I can choose. It was quite interesting. What I did is this particular dog, I didn't realize it had a collar on it. And only when I blew up the image, I realized that it had a collar on it. Just excuse me for a second. It looks like our machine outside is making a noise. I'm not sure if it's coming through in the. I'm just going to phone my husband quickly and just tell him to switch it off. Okay, and I'm going to just select an image, and I'm just going to look for a bigger image. This one's quite nice. That's quite a big face. That would be quite a nice one to work from. Okay, my husband's just switched off So we've got a big water tank that's next to me in the courtyard outside my studio, and the pump makes a crazy noise, and that's the noise that just happened now. So I do apologize for that. But the tank actually does give us wonderful water, so we never run out of water. So, and that's a common occurrence in our country, is that we have water issues. So it does make a noise, and we've got to remember to switch it off. And this switch is too far back in the kitchen for me to reach. So yeah, I'm reliant on my husband to switch it off. Okay, so I'm going to start with this dog again, and sort of very loosely working those ears in. And I can already feel, I'm starting to feel more comfortable with this larger scale drawing. So all I've done is I've tried to feel where those eyes are, sort of going down that muzzle of the dog, getting in the nose and the mouth. And I have to remind myself to play around with the pencils so that I can get some interesting marks. So move those pencils around. And just see what that pencil can actually do. You know, little squiggles, maybe almost like sort of little zigzags, little dashes or dots. And again, try not to outline. Well, I have put some outlines in, but the outlines are broken. Try and think more of the form of this animal and how you are building it up. And then as you work across the skull of that animal, you know, make sure that your pencils are following the curves of that animal's head. You know, so when you go next to the eyes and you go into those eye sockets and then go around, just try and think of the form of that animal, and it will help create a three-dimensional feeling when you draw that animal's head. Okay, and under the nose, getting that little mouth in, working his neck in, and his body. I'm not sure if it's a he or a she. I think they all look the same. The little puppies are, they're very, very cute. If you do manage to see some of the little pups. Yeah, I'm just going to work some marks into his chest or her chest. And then I'm going to pick up different strands of graphite and then work into details. So here on this bigger drawing, I almost went and stretched this. You can see I'm used to working from a tablet. I almost went and moved my fingers out to stretch the image. Yeah. So I'm working with a 4B. And I think I could have made that eye too close. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase that. And I'm going to move it out slightly. But using the same technique. So whenever I draw, I just need to remember that I can't start changing my style of drawing because I've started drawing in this style. And I want to continue so that it looks like the whole drawing looks like it's done by the same person, or it feels like everything should be there and belong. So nothing looks foreign in the drawing. And I'm just rolling as well, rolling my pencil around in my hand so that I end up getting these interesting marks. So you need to move your hand so that you are holding the pencil from the back and almost scribbling with it. And then you can move in, and you're going to get a little bit more control as you move down that pencil. So perhaps when you're doing the details. Actually, my little drawing's looking a little bit distrustful, so I've got this dog looking at me in a very suspicious way. And all I'm doing is using marks, and quite loose, scribbly marks, to build up the textures on this dog, or the values at least. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up a little bit more. Actually, I'm going to pick up my two pencils that have been taped together again, and just see if I can work more marks over that muzzle. And then I think just in the really, really dark areas, I'm going to pick up that petroleum jelly or the turpentine and work into those darker areas. Looks like today's the day for noises. I now have my cat meowing at the door. Just picked up an 8B. I'm going to see if I can work some more values in to those ears, especially those ears really need to be quite dark. And those eyes. I think I've made this nose too, actually, no, it looks fine now that I'm looking properly. I've done something wrong. I think the inner part of the eye lines up with the outer part of the nose. So I could have actually moved the nose. And yeah, I think that's what I've done wrong. I've moved the nose to the side and it looks weird. So I'm going to move that. Yeah, I think he's looking a little bit better now. And dogs' noses are quite strange. They've got that lump on the top, and then they've got the little nostrils underneath. And then they've got like a bit that sort of curves underneath again. And then this one's got that little sort of tufts of light hair under his nose. And then we've got the little parting of its mouth. And then the chin underneath that. Yeah, that nose is aligning a little bit better. Okay, so just working up the values very loosely on that face. And this dog also has a bit of a square jaw, I think. I can sort of see a line coming down. I'm trying to indicate almost like those painted patches on the back of that dog without actually drawing them. And I think I'm going to go in with that the turpentine or the petroleum jelly now, and then try and work up this drawing a little bit more. So hopefully this is going to spread everything. So I'm just dipping into, I'm just painting it on in the very dark areas. And then I'm going to start working over it. And it is immediately creating wonderful dark areas. In fact, what you could do is you could possibly also dip your pencil into the petroleum jelly and apply it that way and see what that feels like. And it's doing some very interesting things to this this artwork. And I'm quite liking what it's doing. And I'm actually re-establishing that nose again. I think I made it this muzzle too long. Actually, I'm really, really loving what this is doing. It's completely changing this drawing. And it is going through slightly. So I think you need to just be aware of that it will go through, but it's not going through as much as the turpentine. I think I'm going to use a combination of both. I think I'm going to paint it on and dip it in and see what that does. I might have mentioned in a previous week that a Tuesday is we have like a happy hour on our estate at the clubhouse, and it sounds like they were just ringing a bell. Not quite sure what the bell's for, but yeah, today has been the noisy day. Cats, water pumps, bells ringing. Just picked up a 4B. I was working with an 8B. Other thing you can do with graphite drawings, I mean, yeah, I'm not a purist, so I tend to call most of my work mixed media. So, I mean, if I do feel like I've overworked an area, and well, especially if I've used petroleum jelly or turpentine over my drawing, I will just go and use some Poscas or gel pens over the drawing and work into it and add white highlights into it if I feel I've overworked it. But right now, I think it's okay. I'm struggling a bit with the nose. I need to maybe just look at it a little bit more carefully. I mean, I've sort of got the feeling of the nose right, but and the details I have perhaps worked too much. So what I'm probably going to do is have a look at it again. I often feel that I need to leave my work for a little while and come back to it and look again when I'm fresh, and then the solution comes to me. I think you can get sort of bogged down in a drawing and really tired, and then you just mess up your drawing. So sometimes if things aren't working out, it's a good idea just to walk away for a little while and have a rest, and then come back and look at your drawing with fresh eyes. the other thing I tell my students, if they're really, really battling to see something or draw something, I tell them to turn their reference upside down and turn their drawing upside down. So if I do that and I turn my drawing upside down, it's going to give me a completely different perspective. And I'll just move that up. And what actually happens is your brain stops interfering with your eyes. And what you do is you just focus on the shapes and the forms and the values, instead of actually thinking, oh, that doesn't look like an eye, or that doesn't look like a nose. Your brain gets confused and you can't recognize it as a nose or a mouth or a whatever. And you look at all the different value shapes, or you look at shapes. And I mean, I can already see that this mouth needs to move slightly to one side instead of the side where I have it. And turning it upside down has sort of assisted me. I also very rarely draw in graphite. I mean, I know it is the foundation of everything, but like I said, I'm quite lazy when it comes to making art, and I like something that makes a quick mark. So my go-to is charcoal. So I really do. I prefer charcoal or ink or something that moves quite rapidly across the surface. Just making some more marks across his forehead, um, just so that there's not such an extreme contrast between the value areas and this white area of his head. Oh, and I'm doing evil things. What I'm doing is I'm actually smudging the graphite as I'm working. So you should really work with a piece of paper, scrap piece of paper. So if I tear a bit of this, I should actually put that underneath my hand so that I'm not rubbing across the drawing. And then you won't get little smudgy marks like this. Oops, and see how that. I think the tips just spreads more. It spreads a little bit more than the petroleum jelly, but yeah, then you've got to take that toxic nature and the leaking nature of the terps um, into consideration. I've got some friends who will not allow turpentine into their studios at all, just because they believe that it's really, really toxic, which it probably is. I don't really work that much with too many chemicals. And I shift my media all the time. So I'm not just working with one particular chemical if I am working with any chemicals. And I think that probably prevents me from getting any hectic breathing disorders. I think you get a citrus-based solvent as well that can be used. So it doesn't have to be turpentine. I think there are some artists who use a citrus-based solvent to dilute their oil paints, and that can be used for this technique as well. Got that other ear. And now that I'm looking upside down, I can actually see that his head and body sort of extend slightly in a slightly different way. And just working up some of the shadows. Oh, I'm still getting all of this dirty. I have got gloves, sort of fingerless gloves as well. I think they are in my drawer. I'll just quick look and see if I can find it again. Those are also wonderful for, oops, sorry, I'm making more noises. Trying to see if they can. Probably somewhere at the back here. Yes. Oh, no, they're not. Yeah, I'll have to look for them. Oh, I do have one here. So I do have a glove that will prevent smudging as well. So I have a glove that looks like that. And then the glove will stop some of the oils from your hands getting transferred onto your drawing. So that's quite a useful thing to use. It's just in our climate, we tend to get really hot. And wearing gloves is not the ideal thing. So I tend to not want to use this glove just because your hands feel horrible in them. But I think in a colder climate, it would probably be absolutely wonderful to have a glove on your hand while drawing. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this the right way up so that you see what the dog looks like, and I'm not doing crazy things. So I'm just going to, and I can see I've smudged on the side there as well. So I'm just going to work up those ears, and then maybe we can do one last one in color. So yeah, let me just, I'm losing everything. Okay, I've lost my brush. Okay, I've found the brush again. So just darkening those ears. getting quite a lot of reflection. I don't think it is showing on the screen, but in the light that I'm sitting in, I'm getting quite a lot of reflection. So it is a little bit difficult to see. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop there, and I'm probably going to try another one, and this time maybe work with some colored pencils and see what that does. Let me just see if there's any other options. I mean, the other thing we could do is tape 3 pencils together. So there's some variations on this. We could do a colored pencil and a graphite. That might be interesting. Tape 3 pencils together. Maybe we can do another 2 quick ones with 3 pencils and then a colored pencil and a graphite pencil. Or in fact, we might actually do with 2 colored pencils. So if you want to, you can grab another 2 pencils. I'm turning to a different page, and I'm going to turn to a different reference. I'm just going to check the chat. Okay. And Sharon, are you okay? Will you just give me a thumbs up? Okay, perfect. So we'll just move on to a third one, and it might be quite fun to pick up 2. Now I can't decide which one to do. Okay. I think the standing one's going to be easier, but I think some of these running ones might be quite fun. Okay, so I think if we'll move to, maybe we can do the standing one and then a quick running one. Okay, so we can move to the standing dog. And I'm going to pick up 2 colored pencils. It can either, I'm going to use a red, I think. So I've got a red there. Yeah, that's wonderful. And I might pick up maybe a green. Yep. Dark green. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to pick up complementaries and I'll see what that does. And I'm going to tape that together and then just separate them. So if you've got your colored pencils close by, yeah, and I see Sharon, you do, then we can get going with that. It's the same process. Sort of working from the inside of the animal. I've worked with the ears. And mine are aquarelles. So you can actually add water into an aquarelle colored pencil. I think these Collins are aquarelles. I think they're water-based. But I think they're very inexpensive colored pencils. So they, excuse me, they probably won't dilute that much with the with water. But if you've got oil-based colored pencils, then the turpentine will do the same thing as the graphite. So I think I've got some oil-based colored pencils, so I can haul those out and we can have a look at those. Sure, these dogs have quite odd little bodies with these long, skinny, elegant legs. This one's sort of got his back leg that twists behind one of those forelegs. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with that silhouette. And then I'm going to separate these pencils and see if I can draw into this one. Just in the back of my mind, reminding myself to try and keep to the character as much as possible, character of mark making. One looks like he's been in a terrible fight. He's got his ears all ragged. And it looks like as I'm drawing into this, that I'm going to have to flesh out this animal a lot more and extend it. But that's okay. So this is what's quite nice about drawing in such a loose manner, is that as you move through the drawing, you can go and adjust because the lines aren't defined. I'm adjusting the back of this animal because I made it too small. Moving down the back leg. Leg on the side. Actually, I think, when I think back to this reference image, I think this dog probably has been hunting something because I think his fur is it's got quite a lot of blood on it. He is looking quite intense. So if we didn't have this image in black and white, you'd probably see how red the neck of this dog is. I think he had just been hunting. Um, I might. Actually, I don't think I've got any water for. See if it is going to. No, mine's not going to dilute. No, I think this. But you could always try and dilute yours if you're working with aquarels. I might just work a little bit more red. Okay, I've made this oily now. But if you work red on top of green or green on top of red, so the complementary should make each other look darker. Do you think I'm finding it easier to work with the colored pencils than graphite? I've been working quite a lot in colored pencil recently. So maybe that's the reason why I'm finding it a little bit easier. And these particular pencils are quite soft. I'm not really, I can't really see the feet properly because they are, so I'm not really trying to draw them. I'm just sort of almost trying to give you an impression of the feet rather than drawing those individual toes. You just getting the back of that dog in. Yeah, and I'm fairly happy with this little drawing. I think this one's turned out quite well. And what you could do if it was in your sketchbook, you could draw a little frame around it if you wanted to. I think that's quite a nice little study. So I think we've got a little bit of time. And I think we can do maybe try one of the running ones. Yeah, it might be quite interesting. Well, we can either do the one that's sort of, well, either one, maybe choose one of the running ones and we can just finish off with that. And yeah, and I think I'm going to turn my book sideways. And I think I'll do what you are doing as well. I'll work with the graphite and the colored pencils. So I think I'm going to try a yellow and maybe sort of a brown. I'm going to tape those three together and then see what that does. Whoops. This is going to be difficult. This is a challenge. I suppose you've just got to get used to each pencil sort of hitting that surface at a different time. You know, this really is fantastic for teachers that are instructing students to draw along with them, because you end up feeling what the students are going through. You know, you're experiencing the exact same things. It's actually quite funny. I years ago I bought zinc white for in oil paint for my high school students, and I didn't realize that zinc white. I don't know why I didn't realize. It was very stupid of me, but anyway, so instead of titanium, I bought zinc white, and these kids had to do an oil painting just in. Oh, this is giving this little dog a wonderful movement. I almost don't want to touch it because it feels like it's in action. I might do another quick one on another page and leave that one. Quite like that one. But anyway, so I gave these kids just black and white, and I said they've got to do these black and white oil paintings. And instead of buying titanium, they were given zinc. And because zinc is transparent, they weren't managing to work their whites up. And I started shouting at them, saying, "You're just not using it thick enough, and what's your problem?" And I was sort of scolding these kids for not painting properly, and they kept saying to me, "But it's just not working. It's we can't build it up." And I didn't believe them. And eventually I went up to one kid and I said, "Give me your paintbrush. Let me see what I can do." And I started using this paint and I realized this stuff was transparent. Anyway, I was so horrified that I actually went and bought every single child in that class a tube of titanium white out of my own pocket. And the very next day I presented them with all these colors. So it definitely is a very wise thing for teachers and instructors to draw along with their students, because like I say, you're experiencing the materials at the same time. Yeah, I don't think I've done anything as crazy as that again, but yeah, I'll never ever forget that lesson. I actually think I prefer my very loose drawings and it feels like the graphite, maybe it's just this particular 8B is behaving in a completely different way to my other pencils. This one is, it just seems darker. Maybe it's just a better quality pencil than my other pencils. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I don't really, I sort of think all graphite pencils are the same. And I'm not really fussy about what graphite pencils I buy, but this one is feeling, and this one's called a Marco Raffine Sketch Art Sketch. So maybe I must investigate these pencils and see if they are actually a better quality than the ones I normally use. I know that a lot of Americans use Blackwings, and I've never ever used a Blackwing in my life before. And you know what? It does make sense. I mean, I've got these inks that I use that are good. I mean, they're more like sort of dyes, and I buy them in bulk for the kids at school. And then I went and got some fountain pen inks, and just but really expensive, beautiful inks, and just the intensity of those colors are just, the more expensive ones are just incredible. So just, yeah, I think it, often if you do invest in better quality materials, you can sort of see it in your work. Not always, but I think I'm going to stop there. I'm not sure if I like this last drawing, but it's got a feeling of, it's got a nice feeling of movement. Um, yeah, I do think my colored pencils are probably more successful than the others. And have a good week. Yeah, well, the rest of it's not Tuesday already. Yeah. So enjoy the next 2 days, and
Yep.
and I'll see you soon.